This week, we've got some big news regarding updated and remastered games coming to PC. We've also got some handheld-specific sales with hundreds of games available at a steep discount, and new updates to the Steam ecosystem. Plus, what did Lawrence Yang actually say about a Steam Deck 2? We'll talk about all of this and more in this week's Linux Gaming News. So, NexusMods is a popular place to upload and share mods of your favorite games. And they've been hard at work with a cross-platform desktop client to facilitate easier installation and management of mods for your favorite games. Up until recently though, their new mod manager only supported a handful of games, including Stardew Valley. But this week, they added support for Baldur's Gate 3. It's like these folks are reading my girlfriend's mind or something. You like that? But that's not the only change. Nope, this new release also supports Heroic Game Launcher on Linux. Quote, Linux users can now manage GOG games installed or imported using the Heroic launcher. Due to technical limitations, we've disabled red mod deployment for Cyberpunk 2077 using Heroic, but it's possible to have the launcher run this process when starting the game. They've also rolled out support for updating mods that you have installed already. They've got the backend to enable this feature mostly complete, and they'll be adding UI elements to support it in an upcoming release. Now keep in mind that this is still highly experimental and in full sprint development. Things are likely to break, and it's not considered stable, so if you're going to try this out, you do so at your own peril. But there will be a link down below so you can pick up the new release for yourself. All in all, this is something the Linux gaming community has needed for a while, and I'm really glad to see that it's finally happening. Alright, next up, you know the company Aspyr? They're the folks who were behind Tomb Raider 1 through 3 Remastered Collection earlier this year. Well, they just announced Tomb Raider 4, 5, and 6 Remastered, and this looks to be pretty exciting. Given that the previous Tomb Raider collection is Steam Deck verified, I suspect that we're going to see the same deal here. I always enjoyed the Tomb Raider games as a kid, and I recently got the Tomb Raider 1 through 3 collection on GOG. I found it quite fun and nostalgic to play. Now, speaking of Aspyr announcements, they also recently showed off a port of Star Wars Episode 1 Jedi Power Battles. This is yet another game that I played on my PlayStation as a kid. This updated port for PC has a bunch of excellent features, including all secret characters being unlocked from the get-go, plus couch co-op, with new features and updates to improve the experience for modern gaming sensibilities. All in all, it seems like Aspyr's in a pretty good place right now. Next, Humble's Handheld Hits is a showcase of exciting deals on Steam Deck games. You can pick up some excellent titles, including Slay the Spire, Skyrim, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Shredder's Revenge, Dredge, Disco Elysium, and a lot more. Now, I counted and there's over 500 games on sale with discounts of up to 90% off. Many of these will give you Steam keys, while a few will redeem to GOG. And if you end up getting some GOG keys, you can use Heroic Launcher or JunkStore on Linux. They're both great pieces of software and I recommend them. Now, not to be outdone by Humble's Handheld Hits, Fanatical's got its own bundle that lets you pick your own Steam Deck verified games. Here there are 15 titles and you can pick up to 2 games for just $3.50 each, 3 or more games for $3.33 each, or 5 or more for just $3 each. There are some pretty good games here too, like Cat Cafe Manager, Slash Quest, Night Loops, and more. There are going to be links to all of the games that we've talked about today, as well as the sales, down in the description and in the pinned comment. You can check them out, and they are affiliate links, so I get a little bit at no additional cost to you, and it helps support the show. It's greatly appreciated. All right, speaking of JunkStore, last week it was revealed that the Decky plugin JunkStore would be released as a paid app on Steam. That's pretty interesting, right? I mean, JunkStore provides access to Epic Game Store and GOG games, and it makes the games appear in your Steam library. So when I heard that JunkStore was coming to Steam itself and that it was going to be a paid app, yeah, I was a little surprised to say the least. If Valve was profiting from access to a competitor's platform, that seems a little problematic to me. And, well, Valve has actually retired the JunkStore page and denied them access for launching the game. Why? Well, their rationale is actually pretty simple. Quote, Steam does not officially support applications that modify the Steam client code, behavior, or interface, as they have the potential to be harmful to players and the community. We understand that your goal is to help players and to make their experience on Steam better, but we have to consider the full potential impact of that. Following up, Walter from the Steam support team said, due to the goal of the app and the nature of how it works with Steam, we don't see a path towards shipping on Steam. Now, this is unfortunate, but also very understandable. If Valve allowed JunkStore on Steam, it could potentially open the door to other apps that modify Steam, the Steam client, or the interface of the Steam client, and that's not a can of worms that Valve wants to have to police. It does suck though, especially for the devs of JunkStore, since going through the process of getting your store page set up and approved for publication on Steam is quite a hassle. And one would assume that if you get to the point where the page was public and visible, well, that would essentially be a green light to publish your game on the store, right? I spent days trying to get Doodlings approved, and when it came time to get Chess Mess ready, it also took a while. So the process isn't easy. Now, I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Were you looking forward to JunkStore coming to Steam? Would you have bought it if it was available? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're down there, why not hit that like button? It's the best way to tell YouTube you want to see more videos just like this. You can also get subscribed. We're well on our way to 200,000 subscribers, and with your help, we can get there soon. All right, back to the video. Okay, GE-Proton 9-16 just dropped, and it's got mod support for Bethesda games. Let's talk about this. Now, GE-Proton is a community-maintained build of Proton, and it's got nothing to do with Valve's official build, besides being based on it. It's maintained by developer Glorious Eggroll, who I met the last time I was in Denver. He's super nice. Anyway, GE-Proton exists because sometimes Valve can't include fixes for certain games due to legal reasons like patents or copyrights, or even contract rules with the publisher or the developer of the game. Now, this release of GE-Proton will actually scan games from the Fallout series, Oblivion, Skyrim, and Starfield to check and see if there's any known mods installed. If there are, it will actually launch the mod rather than the game, and this is definitely something that the official Proton simply can't do. There were other small fixes to this release, including merging upstream changes and more here. But it's great to see GE-Proton getting constant updates like this. Okay, so this week, Intel and AMD have teamed up to form the new x86 Ecosystem Advisory Group. x86 is the language that most desktop computers, laptops, and servers speak. Software written for PC is almost universally compiled from languages like C into x86 instructions. And x86 is why you need Rosetta 2 to run old Intel-based Mac software on Apple Silicon, or why you need an emulator like FEX to play PC games on a Raspberry Pi. So, according to a press release, Intel and AMD have created a new group that includes Broadcom, Dell, Google, HP, Lenovo, Meta, Microsoft, Oracle, and Red Hat, as well as tech luminaries like Linus Torvalds and Tim Sweeney to guide the x86 architecture into the future. Quote, the advisory group aims to unite industry leaders to shape the future of x86 and foster developer innovation through a more unified set of instructions and architectural interfaces. The intended outcomes include enhanced customer choice and compatibility across hardware and software while accelerating their ability to benefit from new cutting-edge features, simplifying architectural guidelines to enhance software consistency and standardize interfaces across x86 product offerings from Intel and AMD, and enabling greater and more efficient integration of new capabilities into operating systems, frameworks, and applications. Now, this is an interesting move for many reasons, not the least of which is Intel's troubles with their most recent line of processors, but also because AMD's press release described the relationship between AMD and Intel as vigorous competitors. Yeah, I would say so. Here's to hoping that this is a more effective and sane group than the USB Implementers Forum or the HDMI Consortium. Now, the question is, when will AMD actually produce the generational leap that we need in order to get our hands on the Steam Deck 2? And speaking of, so Valve has announced that they are working on a Steam Deck 2. It's a thing that they're doing, but they also want you to temper your expectations. Now, what they've said here is nothing new. I mean, Lawrence Yang has been talking about a potential Steam Deck 2 or future Steam Deck hardware for, a long time at this point. But they're waiting on a generational leap in terms of hardware. Well, when speaking to Reviews.org Australia, Yang said, quote, "It is important to us, and we've tried to be really clear, we are not doing the yearly cadence. We're not going to do a bump every year. There's no reason to do that, and honestly, from our perspective, that's kind of not really fair to your customers to come out with something so soon that's only incrementally better. So we really do want to wait for a generational leap in compute without sacrificing battery life before we ship a real second generation of Steam Deck. But it is something that we're excited about and we're working on. And that last bit there, that's the new part. They've confirmed that a Steam Deck 2 is something they're actively working on. It shows that sales of the Steam Deck are very much living up to their expectations and justifying a future hardware release. And that's a good thing. So finally, let's talk about this. There's been a fair number of SteamOS beta updates that have launched with names reminiscent of the way I like to name files when I'm working on client projects. Bryant Final, Bryant Final Final, Bryant Final Final for real this time. You know the drill. On October 2nd, SteamOS 3.6.16 beta end of the line landed with a fix for a system crash when hot plugging a second display in desktop mode. Then, the next day, 3.6.17 beta end of the line landed, which fixed a problem where Steam Deck would be unable to connect to certain Wi-Fi 7 access points. And then finally, on October 11th, beta 3.6.18, the color of the end of the line was released, and this had a few changes. It fixed a possible crash when using Steam Deck as the remote play host, it fixed color space for game recordings, and it improved color range when using remote play to Steam Deck. Is that it? I mean, do we actually have the last beta before a stable SteamOS update? It's been quite a while since we've seen one, and there's been a series of betas since the last stable release. Only time will tell, but if not, I'm looking forward to the silly name they come up with for beta 3.6.19. Well, that's all the Linux gaming news that I wanted to cover this week. I'd like to hear from you though. I make these videos for you, so if I missed a story or there's something that you want me to talk about, drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Now, I want to give a special shout out to my patrons and my YouTube members who make what I do here possible. If you'd like to get special recognition like these folks did, then you can become a patron or a YouTube member with the links below. It makes a huge difference and really emboldens me to make more content and put more work into these videos. There are links on how to sign up for that in the pinned comment below, as well as the description. I think that's going to do it for now, though. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.